didn't give myself a long enough runway to talk here like a dummy, so we're just gonna jump right in. Kind of wandered the area with no real direction in mind, so let's see what we can get. And here's the first shot of the day. You know, really the only thing I was going for with this one was my reflection in the window, which isn't super obvious given how far away I am. So, you know, it just kind of turned out okay. Definitely not my strongest photo for the walk, but you know, it's cool. It's got the little pop of color in the little like lawn fans. I'm not sure what you call those, but the red, the yellow, and the purple was kind of caught my eye too. And then I just kind of decided to include this entire building. And yeah, I don't know, just kind of a warm-up shot. Before getting to this parking lot, this is actually where close to where I parked and got out at the very beginning of the video. You know, I tried to walk further back and it kind of led me into a neighborhood, but I wasn't feeling too inspired out there. So I flipped around and came back and just thought, you know what, let me grab this one. The colors kind of flowing through from the umbrellas down to the little shave ice building there. It kind of caught my eye, kind of the way that those colors kind of flowed through here. You know, a bunch of people in the frame too, which is always a good thing. And yeah, pretty solid photo. I like this one. Actually snapped a couple photos right here with a slightly different framing. This one right here I cropped in just a little bit to emphasize the random guy just on top of this car in front of the Goodwill. You know, just kind of a random moment that I felt pulled to grab or capture. You know, and that's basically it. I know there wasn't too much else going on here other than like the buildings and the cars kind of framing up, you know, the rest of the image. But yeah, you know, just the guy on the roof caught my eye. The second image that I got, which I'll show now, I framed this one out a bit further. You know, I saw the birds on top of the building there, kind of peering down or looking over the area, and I figured let me frame them in with this guy on top of the car, which I like, you know, just kind of adds another element. I don't know how I feel about the lady in the bottom right hand corner. I think that's why I cropped it in on the other image, because I felt like the lady was a bit distracting and she didn't really add anything to the scene. So yeah, I'm not sure which one I like better. I think highlighting the random guy on top of the car and the more cropped image looks a bit better, but yeah, these were pretty cool. Very random. I actually walked past this spot initially and kind of turned around real quick, which you didn't see in the edit. It just made it look like I walked up to it. Yeah, just this one little plant. I don't know if it's a weed or not, but it had flowers on it. And just this one plant kind of thriving in this pile of dirt along the side of the curb, just in the street. I was like, yeah, I got to grab that. You know, just that's an interesting composition that, you know, I felt like I needed to capture. I also tried to include my shadow in there as well as kind of a frame to that spot to bring more attention to it. But there was a lot of like overcast, so the sun wasn't quite as strong. So it's yeah, the shadow's a little weak, but it's there. There's a little silhouette. So yeah, this one's just got a nice kind of checks a lot of boxes in terms of, you know, flow, composition. There's kind of a clear subject with almost like a little, you know, backstory to it. Yeah, this one was fun. I don't, definitely don't love this one. I think in my mind, this old kind of RV, trailer type of thing in this backyard here was meant to be the subject, kind of peeking over the top of this fence. And it does. It just isn't as impactful as I imagined it. As my mind's eye saw it. There is like a bonus point. There's a random squirrel just on the right side of that light pole, kind of peeking out on the other side of it. So, that's kind of random too, but I don't know. I think there's too much fence, there's too much stuff going on the bottom, and the little RV thing isn't as prominent as I wanted it to be. So yeah, this one kind of falls short for me. The big dilemma for me that I always find when I'm out shooting is photographing people in residential areas or neighborhoods and managing to do so without them noticing me. So I'm getting a lot better at holding the camera in a way that it looks like I'm not paying attention, but I'm like definitely taking photos. That's something that I'm definitely getting better at. At least I feel like I am. And this is one of the images that I grabbed of this lady walking her dog. It obviously looked at me and I waved at her, but directly after I snapped a couple at the hip. I wish, usually with these types of shots, I wish I was a little bit closer. But this one's got, once again, kind of an oddball feel to it. It's just this random older lady walking her little chihuahua, in this residential area. I think the cars and stuff are placed in a way that it kind of pulls from the balance of the image. And, being closer would have helped. But I do end up capturing another one of this lady and her dog in a moment that I do like. And here it is. This one was a lot better. They were a bit closer to me, and I was able to, crop this one down and make it look the way that I wanted the previous image to look like. I love that the dog, the Chihuahua, is just death staring me. I'm glad that he or she has such a strong presence in this image. I think that's really funny. And the older lady's just kind of like not even paying attention, is going about her day. The one thing that I wish was framed a little bit better in this is the mailbox. I think the mailbox is a little lopsided and is pulling away from, I think, the main subjects with the dog and the old lady, but it still works and it's close enough. So I was pretty happy with this one.